Hi, I'm David Terrar and welcome to our live-streamed news and interview show, Cloud Industry Forum presents TWF, courtesy of our friends at Disruptive Live. I'm CEO of the Cloud Industry Forum, which is a not-for-profit, membership-driven trade body that champions and helps accelerate the adoption of cloud technology and services. We've got members like Lenovo and Acronis and Broadcom and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise and Fujitsu and Ingram Micro and Wolters Kluwer and Softworks and the like. If you want to find out more about us, we're at cloudindustryforum.org. TWF goes live on Mondays at 10 o'clock each week. Each week we start with some tech stories that have sparked our interest and then we interview a guest. Today it's a long-term friend and associate of the forum talking about the legal and ethical implications around the almost ubiquitous topic of AI, but more on that later. We're on the lookout for guests to come on the show, so if you're doing something that supports or is supported by secure and trusted cloud technology, then we'd love to hear from you. You can connect with us here in the comments on LinkedIn. You can email us at info@cloudindustryforum.org. I'm at DT on X, David_Terrar on Threads, or you just Google me. You'll find me. Now, one of the biggest stories last week was the UK regulator giving the go-ahead to Microsoft's $56 billion takeover of Activision Blizzard. Now, that obviously has big ramifications for the gaming industry, but it'll also give Microsoft a whole load of extra knowledge and expertise and code around gaming platforms, which will mean they're better placed for the development of mixed reality and metaverse-like experiences. I hope to talk more about that and the way it develops in later programs. However, what caught my eye were stories in Network World and elsewhere explaining that in a time when we're suffering from chip shortages, major technology companies are looking to develop custom silicon. Now, I'm a Mac user, and this year I swapped my Intel 7-based MacBook Pro for an Apple M2 based MacBook Pro. So I've got first-hand experience of the extra speed and multitasking that can bring, and importantly, the reduction in heat generation and power. For my type of work, it's lightning speed and it's a longer battery life, but that's just one machine. Translate that to all the servers in a data center. Now, this trend goes hand in hand with 2023's explosion in generative AI and AI in general. Now, we've been talking about that all year. Meta and Microsoft have made big AI announcements. Everyone's talking about GPT-3 or GPT-4, and a host of new AI startups, some of which are truly innovative, and some of which are just a nice user experience around the same large language model that we've all got access to. The reports suggest that Microsoft and Google and AWS, along with OpenAI themselves, are developing or looking to develop their own chips customized for AI workloads. OpenAI are looking at an acquisition. Microsoft is reportedly working with AMD. Google are producing their Tensor chips optimized to help AI on their mobile phones. AWS's Transium chip is said to be a second-generation machine learning accelerator. Now, this trend is going to continue, but it won't be easy. The design talent for this kind of thing is scarce. The investments required are significant. The design and development timescales are not short, and we already have complex supply chain issues that we're going to have to deal with. Over time, almost every business is going to be deploying AI to supercharge their processes and do a better job engaging their customers. That's going to need more power and more data capacity from our data centers and cloud hosting companies at a time when the move to carbon neutral is a big imperative. We need those silicon chip efficiencies more than ever. We'll be talking about the sustainability topic next week, but this week's guest will help us with a different angle on AI. I am delighted to be introducing Frank Jennings of Teacher Stern, known on X as @TheCloudLawyer, a long-standing friend and associate of the forum. He used to be the chair of our Code of Practice Governance Board. We're going to be talking about the legal and ethical issues around the amazing explosion of AI that we've seen this year. But first, please, Frank, welcome to the new studio. And please,
it's great to be here.
Can you introduce yourself and your company?
Yes, so I am the cloud lawyer at Teacher Stern. I have been doing technology since I was at school, actually. I'm old enough to have programmed ZX Spectrums and BBC Acorns.
Brilliant.
Not very well, but I chose the law, so I was there for the. I qualified in-house with a computer games company, Signosis, if anybody remembers back in the day.
Okay, no, with a P.
The owl logo. And I've been involved in tech ever since, the dot-com boom, bust, cloud, AI, ML. So it's just progression for me.
Excellent stuff. This is really good to hear. So let's start with the data. Generative AI that we've seen explode this year, as I said, relies on large amounts of data to learn and generate the answers and make predictions. How do we stand, from a legal point of view around privacy and data protection?
One thing that everybody tells me is that the law lags behind technology, which is probably true because the rate at which technology is changing on a daily basis it's impossible for the law to keep up with that. But what people forget is that data protection in particular is technology agnostic. It doesn't specify any particular technology, and that's deliberate. So that it's about the data, and it's about how you manipulate, collect, process, store, use that data. When they drafted GDPR, for example, it didn't anticipate machine learning and artificial intelligence, but it's about what you do with that data. The law isn't designed specifically for AI in mind, but it's there to adapt and change. So if you put data sets into an AI or a machine learning tool, it's all about that data, that private data, and how you manipulate and use that. So that's no different than if you or I were to manipulate that data ourselves.
So you don't think that organisations need any kind of new and different processes? They ought to be doing this kind of thing anyway.
Yeah, obviously it's all about people, process, and technology. That's as true now as when the rule was first expounded 60 years ago. Yeah. It's just that the people, the processes, and technology are different now. Yeah. Now we're talking about AI and ML. So yes, if you're using data in your business, and if you're using AI too, then you just need to make sure that you're using it in an appropriate manner.
Yeah. Okay. Now, obviously, we've heard about some AI tools kind of like violating intellectual property because they're and copyright because they're scraping content and images and things from the internet, and that's kind of like potentially IP theft, copyright infringement. How do we deal with that kind of thing?
Again, copyright and intellectual property laws aren't technology specific because it doesn't really matter the medium in which you're using this. Yeah. If there is a copyright work which you're using without permission, then you're going to get caught. But I've got a range of books at home which I've bought, paid for, read, and I'm free to give that copy to you afterwards. Yeah. If you want to read what I want to read. But that doesn't allow me to upload that book to the web, and that doesn't allow me to give it to an AI tool to train itself on. So copyright theft or copyright infringement is still the same as it was before. It's just that we've got another means by which we can do this. So if you are using copyright works in an AI engine or an ML tool to train it to write things which are also interesting, similar, or creative, what's going to happen is that it's likely that the training the tool on that particular copyright work will end up with a similar version of that copyright work. And this is so concerning for major authors such as John Grisham and George A.R. Martin, who did Game of Thrones, that they're actually taking action against OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT.
There's actually active lawsuits on it.
Yeah, so and it's early days, and we'll see which way this goes, and it's not an easy hill to climb. But yeah, they're so concerned about it. If you're in a creative industry, an artist or an author or composer, then AI could be a massive threat to your livelihood. Okay.
Now, because we're using AI in that kind of creative way, and we've got we're kind of using the data to automate our decision processes and that kind of thing. I mean, actually, the way it all works is pretty opaque. Do we need any new legislation to make that kind of automated decision process more transparent, more open?
It's funny that I'm the lawyer here and you're the one asking for more legislation. I'm saying I think the legislation is probably right, actually. Obviously, as societies develop and change, we need new laws to change from time to time too. But I don't think we automatically need new laws at this stage just because of AI making decisions about people. The decisions themselves need to be done in a manner which is compliant with the existing laws. So you can't take a decision based on protected characteristics, for example, to give an undesirable outcome or discriminatory outcome. You can't discriminate now whether you use AI or not. So that bit hasn't changed. Whether we need to see behind it transparency or whether it's too opaque and that causes the threat. Well, that becomes more nuanced, doesn't it? If the decision is arguably discriminatory or produces some other undesirable or unlawful output, then perhaps there's a need to see how you reach that decision to lift the lid and a bit more transparency on that. But that's no different to making a decision based on without use of AI or machine learning.
So I don't have to kind of think differently about the potential liability and that because I've got to be doing it right properly anyway.
Exactly. So liability. I mean that's a whole other topic which we'll probably come on to in a minute. But yes, certainly if you're using AI or ML to produce an outcome, you need to make sure that outcome is done in a lawful and fair manner, just as if you weren't to use that tool.
Okay. Is there anything else we should be thinking about to do with liability?
Well, yeah. So liability is the big question, isn't it? Yeah. It's if you start using AI or ML in your business to produce outcomes, to generate content, to make decisions, if that goes wrong, or if you end up infringing somebody's copyright works or producing music, Spotify says they're not going to ban AI generated music, for example, and Amazon is limiting the number of books that you can upload onto the Kindle resource to reduce the number of AI works, but it's not banning them. So there's a potential here, isn't there, that if you're using AI and producing output, that something's going to go wrong, and at some point, this is where the lawyer, you expect the lawyer to say, somebody somewhere is going to be responsible for that, and as we're seeing with the case by the authors, somebody's going to want to take action to have a look at that, to work out who's responsible for that. So if you're creating the AI tool, then you need to make sure that the data set on which you're basing it, or the algorithm that you're using, isn't unlawful. If you're honing that AI, ML, for your own purposes, you've taken got a license to use whatever it happens to mean, you're training it on your own data set now, or making your own changes, you need to be careful. Yeah. And then if you're producing an outcome, and the outcome is then going to be acted upon by somebody else, and just bear in mind, somebody might take an outcome and then make their own decisions based on another outcome, and then you need to be careful. But that's no different now to what it ever was. It's just that there are potentially more players in the risk. Instead of making your own decision based on your own data set, you're now using extra tools which are created by someone else, which will help you make these decisions and produce these outcomes.
And so I guess you're going to answer the same when I ask about the ethical implications of this, because obviously, particularly with the stuff that's out there on the internet that has been used to train these large language models and the like, there might be potential biases and that kind of thing that come in. But
and that comes down to people, process, and technology again. It's no different. It's just that we are using a different form of technology. We're using AI or machine learning to do this. We need to make sure that the data set is broad enough so that you don't skew the results. So there are two very handsome men in this episode having a chat about things, and if your data set was based on two very handsome men of a certain age having a chat about things, all the episodes would be two handsome men having a chat. But obviously that's a false data set. So you need to make sure that you have a broader data set to realise that there are other people, equally as handsome, no doubt.
Excellent.
So to train your AI model.
You forgot to say really fit as well.
Yeah.
This is interesting that you're saying that the existing legislation and existing frameworks don't have to change because of AI. Is there anything we need to feed into the governance side of our organisations to handle this AI explosion?
Well, I'm not saying that we don't necessarily need to change legislation and keep the legislation up to date, particularly as it starts to develop and people use AI tools more broadly. It's the creators and the configurers and the outcome and the deciders, and there's very different nuances there, which as we go along will probably point to holes or put stress on the existing legislation. So we definitely need to be thinking about where we're going with this. In terms of new processes, People get all excited about the latest bit of technology, which does whatever it happens to be. A few years ago, it was big data and cloud, and now it's AI and ML, and we need to change everything. And I don't think you do. I think it's important to make sure that these technologies aren't siloed into the IT team. It's not the CTO who's responsible for everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, he or she is a key player in this, but the CEO, the COO, they all need to be involved in this as part of this process. It's not enough to just give somebody some technology to play with and then just, well, that's ring fence, that's over there, that's their problem. No, it's a business-wide problem, just as it is for everything else. If you use cloud in your business, that's not just the CTO, that's the whole business needs to be aware of the implications. If you use AI, then you need to be aware as a business of what you're doing. So implement the processes to make sure it's fair and lawful and not discriminatory, and that it's advantageous to your business and so on.
That's excellent.
And obviously, as the contract lawyer, I'm going to say to make sure you've got contracts all the way along to back this up, to apportion liability.
Yeah. I mean, this has been a great chat. We're running out of time. Is there any sort of last messages you'd like to leave the audience with around this topic? I mean, I think I get where you're coming from, though.
Yeah, so AI, ML, very exciting. We're on the cusp of something big, I think. It's dot-com boom kind of big, or industrial revolution kind of big. I think that what we're going to do is end up with massive changes to the way things are done.
Totally agree.
But with those changes are going to come responsibilities and potentially liabilities. So, I mean, I always say that nobody ever reads the contract because it's dull. It's just the contract lawyers that do that. But that the contract is key here, is that if you're getting something from someone or giving it to someone else, the liability will fall along that chain of command somewhere. So you need to apportion that in your contract. So get your lawyer involved, I would say that. But make sure you know where the risks are, then at least you can go into it with your eyes open. But I'm not saying don't do it, don't use AI, because of course AI is fantastic, but just be careful how you use it.
Excellent. Frank, that has been awesome. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.
Well, I hope you agree with me that you thought Frank Jennings' attitude to the legal and ethical implications on AI was really cool. Great session. Next week, we've actually got Gregory Leborg from one of our members, OVH Cloud, talking about sustainability. So please don't miss that one, because it's going to be a really interesting talk. If you want to find out more about us, email info@cloudindustryforum.org. Contact me. We'd love to hear from you. Please come join us next week. Thank you.